a director for Devon Care Homes Collaborative. I do a lot of their comms work, and I've been doing that for a few years. So Nikki Wright's here to talk to us about T levels today, and Nikki and I have worked across similar projects, haven't we, over the last few years with different hats on. And then Marta's going to tell us a little bit about her experience of having a carer work with them who has also been doing T levels. So we thought that was a kind of a nice way of, and I think I've got quite a few questions, Nikki, but I think if I hand over to you, because you'll no doubt have a wonderful presentation to talk us through it all, and then we can hit you with our barrage of questions at the end.
Absolutely fine, and good to see you all again. So my background is that I did work for Devon County Council for a while, and I've now jumped ship, so to concentrate on T levels. And the lovely Marta I have been working with, so she's been really good, and you're part of our T level network now, which is amazing. So I will do my presentation. So, can you all see that?
Yes, we can. Will you be sharing the presentation, Nikki?
I will, absolutely, I will. Yeah, definitely. So part of my remit, as I said, there is 7 industry placement coordinators across the country. I think, as things stand at the moment, I am the only one that is tackling social care. And that's because, as I just said, I did work for DCC. I was part of the training team there. And my heart is very much with you. And, you know, even though I originally came from the NHS, the NHS cannot monopolise this. And that's why I've taken a lot of time and a lot of care working with the Department for Education, working with the Department for Health and Social Care to ensure that certainly going forward, social care is very much part of this. And I'll explain why in a moment. So just having a quick look at the Devon context as things stand at the moment. We actually have 5 large NHS trusts, because SWAST is in there, that's the South West Ambulance Trust. And we have approximately 700 social care providers, including 550 residential services. And we all know here that the NHS can't cope without you. And I think for too long now, certainly when I was working for the for DCC, everything revolved around NHS, but it won't work. So we have very much a rural and coastal large geographical area. I have the biggest in the country. And that in itself causes its issues because we have pockets of people working in cities, but we are spread over a much wider area. And there is a lot of areas where students come from that are quite remote. There's an awful lot of things like care homes and domiciliary agencies and lots of different types of adult social care that are also fairly remote. And really what I'd love to do is to bring everybody together so that we make sure that social care is on the map. We're a net migrator, so we have an aging population, but we're also losing a lot of our young people. So all the way up to 25, that is dipping now, unfortunately. Looking at some of the reasons is because youngsters go away to things like universities. But again, I'm working with the universities here to make sure that that they accept T levels as part of the remit, which is amazing. It's an amazing step forward because there's still an awful lot of universities across the country that do not take T levels, but Plymouth now do. I'm working with Exeter and I'm working with Marjan, so that will be amazing. And really, you know, as I said, we have to grow our own. And you often find that many people who live in Devon and in Cornwall and the surrounding counties, they love where they live and they don't necessarily want to leave. And one of the things that I've ascertained is the fact that they just don't always know how to get from A to B. So how to get from 16 and under into health care, etc., etc. So that's a big remit as to what I'm working on. All barriers. Oh my gosh. So at the moment, we have a T-level in health, we have a T-level in healthcare science, but we don't have a T-level in social care. So again, I've gone back to both the Department for Education and the Department for Health and Social Care and basically said, what on earth are you going to do about this? And I kid you not, the first meeting I went into with these people around the table, one of the Department for Education guys said to me, what do you mean social care? And I was like, well, you know, the big thing that, you know, we all need and that we all know about. Well, hang on a minute, isn't it the same as health? No, 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 no. And it isn't even just about the fact that social care isn't necessarily, you know, it's so wide, the remit is so wide. The students don't necessarily know what goes on in social care. And actually, when you talk to these under 16s, I want to be a nurse, you know, because I've watched Casualty, or I want to be a midwife because I've watched One Born Every Minute. We need to give these people a much broader experience. So, so as I said, I'm working with the Department for Education and the Department for Health and Social Care to ensure that social care is part of this. And in fact, City College Plymouth, bless their little cotton socks, have gone against everything, and they have actually renamed their T-level a T-level in health and social care. So that, you know, so we are making progress, but it's slow. And that's why we need you guys on board. The T-level will replace the BTEC. The BTEC at the moment has a very uncertain future. Yes, it's staying. No, it's not. Oh yeah, we'll extend it. No, we won't. So, and again, there's an awful lot of issues around that, and that's for the government to tackle. However, in the past, BTECs have often done placements in adult social care. And as a result, they have experienced what there is on offer, and they go on to either go and work in within the settings themselves, they go on to higher education, but come back to social care, or they go and do apprenticeships. So those are the big three feeders. If people do not know about social care, you have lost your feeding, your pipeline, you know, so it's so important that we get you involved. And currently we only actually have small pockets of industry placements within social care at the moment, and Marta is very much on board with that, and we are hopefully going to do a lot more work together to make sure that this is right across the board. So we need widespread recognition of the short and long-term implications, i.e. you'll lose your pipeline if we don't get you involved. However, you have an awful lot to offer. And in fact, one of the things that I have also done, I have taken all the learning outcomes from the T-level and I have mapped them to social care. There is no reason why social care cannot be used as a placement. Just to give you another bit of a shock, I was talking to one of the placement coordinators at a certain college within Devon, and they said to me, oh, can't have social care. Why not? Because the specialism is in adult nursing. Yeah, well, you have there are nurses in social care. Are there? Wow, you know, so you know, and they also have things like OTs and GPs going in, and, you know, speech and language therapists and physios and all of the, no. So that's what we're working with, you know, and that's a big part of what my remit has been in terms of the T-level network that I run, is to educate not only the employers who take on these placements, but to actually educate the educators themselves. So yeah, it's been a bit of an eye-opener. So and again, we want to increase the visibility of your social care career pathway. Unfortunately, the remit is if you're bright and you want a career, you go into NHS. If you don't want a career and you're not quite as academic, you go into social care. Absolute conkers, you know, absolute rubbish. So again, I'm doing an awful lot of promotion around that to try and address this so that you know, social care is absolutely as viable as the NHS. And the thing that I use to sell it is the fact that what I like about social care is it's proactive. Health is reactive, and not everybody wants to go into a reactive environment. They know they want to do health, they know they want to do care, but not necessarily in an acute hospital. So that's why I'm widening this net. We have to keep these people. So what we're doing about it, so as I said, I've got a T-level network, and if anybody would like to join that to see what we're doing, by all means, please get hold of me, and I will include you on our list. We have a face-to-face events every 3 months, and we have monthly meetings, and we bring the educators, so the colleges, the schools, the universities, employers, social care, AHPs, everybody into one room, and we go to battle, basically, which proves interesting. So, but it's been really informative, because I think at the start of this, there was an awful lot of things that maybe the health and care system didn't know about the educators and about the qualification, but also it became apparent that the educators didn't know an awful lot about areas of health and care as well. I'm in the process of writing a strategy, and I have the ICB on board, and that will be hopefully released in December or January of next year. And that sets out all the things that we need to achieve as a system. As I said, we're maximising exposure to the breadth and depth of social care. Yes, there are nurses. Yes, there are OTs, etc., etc. And the other great thing that I just want to say here is the fact that with T-level students, because they are level 3, they do not have to be overseen by a registered professional. They can be overseen by care workers, senior care workers. So it gives your current staff an opportunity to broaden their remit as well, you know, so it's everybody coming into this. And as I said, we're looking at not only the clinical roles, but also the non-clinical roles as well. So estates, business, digital, media, any of those that apply, I'm bringing those in. So what am I doing about it? Increasing the visibility. So I'm actually engaging with pre-16. Just to say that the schools, we've been struggling to get the schools on board. And when I've done a deep dive into this, what we're discovering is the fact that the schools won't let the colleges in because they see it as competition. However, the loophole is to get employers like yourself to go into the schools and to talk to the students, or even have online webinars or forums or whatever, where these students can ask questions. So I'm doing that with the AHPs, and I will be doing that with social care as well. And as I said there, not just for health. You know, I've had my hands wrapped, for saying that, by the Department for Education. But as Lucy knows pretty well, I don't always pay attention to what people expect me to do. And, you know, this is for you. This is for you. What I'm doing is for you. It's not for me, but it's for you and the people of Devon and the people that you serve. You know, this is about creating your pipeline going into the future. And we're strengthening partnership working so that you yourselves can actually have an input into how the curriculum is delivered. That's another thing that I'm also working on at the moment, because again, the emphasis is on health. By bringing social care in, you can help mould this going forward. So what do I need from you? I need your help to come and offer to do placements, to come and tell people of Devon what it is that you do, about the vital services that you provide, to promote the fact that this isn't just for health, and also just to say we're here, because I think sometimes, unfortunately, social care is invisible. You just need to look at the response to COVID. You know, we'll clap for the NHS. No, 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 no. This is much, much bigger. And yeah, you know, as I said, I've been into meetings in the past and NHS have dominated. It shouldn't be like that. So anything that I can help you with in terms of T-level placements, please, 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 please ask me questions today. That's my email address. Get hold of me. I'm beginning to get social care on board, but I can't do it on my own. So, so that's where I am. But thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Nikki. Any questions from anybody? And I can start if you want. For the T levels, do people need their maths and English?
They do.
GCSE level 4?
They do. And there is actually a transition program, Lucy, so that if people don't get the grade, they can do the transition program. They can also do works experience in health and social care settings, and that will set them up for the T level going forward. So unlike
it's
the
like
BTEC,
a bridging program.
Sorry.
So a bit like a bridging program, like when you're doing the TNA stuff, and you have you. So they would need level 4 in English and maths.
Level 2 English and maths.
No, that's functional skills, isn't it? I mean, as in
no, GCSE is also level 2.
It's 2 now, is it?
Yeah.
Not 4.
Oh, sorry. No, you're talking about grade 4.
Yeah.
Level 2, grade 4. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So they do need grade 4
maths
in
English.
GCSE. Okay. And if they don't have it, there is a way of getting around that because they could do the transition program.
Absolutely. And just to say as well that the trusts are also helping with that. And they some of the trusts are running online courses for their own staff, but students are allowed to join it.
Fine. And I spoke to Petrock in Mid Devon a few weeks ago, and they were absolutely adamant that T levels were not social care. So I'm just feeding that back to you, that is the message coming from.
I have spoken to Petrock, and I'll give you a clue. The word conkers came into that conversation as well. As I said, what I've also done is I have mapped the entire first year to social care. There is no reason, there is not a single reason why social care cannot host T-level students. I am in the process of discussing this with Petrock, so
that's fine,
because they're going to have to if BTEC disappears as well, Lucy. So
yeah, totally right. Katie Pinehurst, what's your question?
Hello, hi. Thanks, Nikki. Hello. Just quickly, how long would the placement or hosting be for? Would it be like a couple of months, weeks, a whole year?
Do you know what it is? It does vary from college to college. So it can either be 1 day a week. That students need a total of 315 hours. Okay. And they're allowed 2 employers. So that could be a social care employer and the NHS if necessary. It's about making sure that the students get all their learning outcomes ticked off. But you can do it day release or you can do it block placements. As I said, some colleges are doing day release for their first year and block for their second. So that can be up for discussion and absolutely should be, discussed with the colleges themselves. There has to be flexibility here. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. And does it matter how big your is? Because we're only a small home of 18 beds, so it doesn't matter.
No, okay. And in fact, when you look at the first year curriculum, it is very generic. It's about caring. It's about, conversations. It's about communication. It's, it doesn't matter, honestly, it's about them getting this experience. And the other thing that I would just also say as well is the fact that you are not expected to assess the students. So you don't need to worry about that. That they will come in with a list of things and you can observe them, either talking to a patient, tick, you're happy with it, put your initials beside it, but you are not expected to assess the students themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Is there scope as well if you get on well with your placement person and you find that they've got a bit of potential that they could also then join you as a member staff?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Lucy. And this is where I'm going, because I think people sometimes that choose vocational qualifications would rather go straight into employment or into an apprenticeship. And if they are on your books and you have an internal apprenticeship coming up, absolutely, they can apply for that. So, yeah. And in fact, looking at some of the figures from across the country for last year, about 20% went straight into employment.
I
Within
think age
social
would be
care
an
or
issue,
health.
wouldn't it? Because if you've got 16-year-olds, but I mean, there are other jobs we can give 16-year-olds in.
Absolutely.
Social care,
and just to say, Lucy, as well, I've also tackled that, and I have examples of risk assessments that just need to be incorporated into yours that add additional comments about 16 to 18. They're not allowed to be unsupervised. But at the end of the day, you know, there's no reason why they cannot help with a lot of the tasks that are being done within your, you know, within your setting.
Steve, got a question?
Yeah. How would this kind of work within like the domiciliary side of things? Would it be exactly the same as somebody going out shadowing?
Yes. So yeah. And again, I've had an awful lot of kickback from domiciliary care, but I'm also working with people up in both Cumbria, Northumbria, and in Yorkshire, and they have used domiciliary care, you know, as part of their placements. The one thing that I would say to you, Steve, is, you know, people have said, oh, it's about going in cars with, you know, lone students. The way that I would do that is to get student consent, but to get parental consent as well. And, you know, I've already explained to the colleges that anybody that works in dom care is DBS assessed, you know, they'll have full driving licenses. So in many ways, you have actually sorted out the potential pitfalls. But no, by getting parental consent, they've had no problems with that.
Okay, and then kind of like your experience with the clients, have the clients been okay with the younger
They
people
have.
going in as well? Yeah.
Yeah, on the whole, I mean, the way that it's generally done is when the carer or whoever it is that's going into the home says, I have a student with me, are you happy for them to assist? Are you happy for them to observe? 99 times out of 100, absolutely. There's been the odd one. I think there was a gentleman who was having issues with his catheter and he said absolutely not, but that was his personal choice, you know, just as it would be with anybody else. But no, most of the time there's not been an issue.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other queries?
Lucy, I might also add that we've got a few, although they can't do care on a one-to-one, they can work in the kitchen, or so what we've seen in summer holidays, they just want to earn the money, and so they're quite happy to work in the kitchen as pot wash or KP or and that's their choice, you know. They want the hours, but when we can then move someone that's got a dual role out of the kitchen, that works quite well. You just have to kind of be flexible. The only thing that you have to do if they're in education, you have to tell your local authority that they're employed by you. And that can be a little bit lengthy. They never come back to you, but we just have to do it with West Devon. We have to fill in a form, and because we employ from 14, so from 14 we get them into the kitchen, and then they can do tea trolleys, and they just work their way into the home gradually. But the difficult bit, the thing to not forget is that under 14 they can't work past 7 o'clock. 16 they can't go from a late shift into an early shift. So you just have to read up what your local government, like your local authority, says about those kind of little bits, just to make, because although Chinese restaurants, Indian restaurants have them in until 12 o'clock at night, we would be the sector that ends up in the news because we've had a 16-year-old working until 7:30.
And employing school-age children does come with its own set of regulations, doesn't it? And even specifically which day it is. So I know Saturdays is great, but Sundays isn't. But
and just
I
to
don't
add
know
off the
anybody
back
else,
of that,
but
Lucy, sorry, just to add off to the back of that, one of the great things about the T-level is that you can employ them. They can be paid for their placements. So it's another way of hooking them in and keeping them. So
yeah. And I was going to say, what I was going to say is, I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly started working at 14 in a care home. Look at me now, many decades later. So yeah, I think that's fabulous. So college wise, they are in each college in Devon, or
yeah,
not
South
yet?
Devon
Yes.
at the moment have put theirs on hold till next year. But as of 2025, yeah, absolutely, they will be back on board. But all the other colleges are, and I'm slowly getting schools on board as well. So it might be that, you know, you would be approached by schools as well.
I was interested what you said about the schools versus colleges things. I mean, they've got their own Gatsby benchmarks to hit anyway, so they should be showing some careers development and post-16 transition, shouldn't they? So I'm interested that you're finding that as one of the barriers, because certainly the schools I work with, their Gatsby benchmarks are very important. So
yeah, and certainly at the last TLN meeting, I've got agreement from the employers, some of the employers, to say that they will either host students, you know, to come in for a day and talk to them, or they will go into the schools themselves to say, look, this is what's on offer, this is the breadth of it, these are the different careers that you could follow. Yeah, and they're, you know, they're quite happy to go in and do a talk for an hour. So
good. Marta, did you want to talk more about your experience as a kind of more formal thing, or?
Yeah, so I've got a group of 3 nursing homes in Devon. One of them is very rural, so it's in the middle of Dartmoor. So we're struggling to get Plymouth student to us. And I think that's one of the things that me and Nikki are trying to work to, is trying to get homes that are more local to the colleges to kind of come on board and help with placing students, because when we are so far out, it's a bit difficult to kind of get people there. We do different offers about, you know, helping them with their fuel allowance if they come into us. So, and then I've got 2 down in on the south coast, and they have both. They have medical students from Exeter University, and they're over 18s, and then they have T-level students, or what was the BTEC students. They are placed at the nursing homes, and they come in. So the medical students do 4 days a week, 8 till 3. And then the T-level students do 1 day a week, but they probably do a much longer stint. They do anything up to 3-4 months, and they usually do end up working weekends, because that's what they want to do. The feedback we get is that it's usually really positive and a bit sad. The kind of topic, the kind of recurring theme is, oh, it's not like what you see in the news. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, we do, like, and they love it. And then the feedback from the medical students, it's usually like, oh my God, you're running like a community hospital. We had not had a clue what nursing homes are. And so they are very honest, and they say, we really didn't want to come here because we thought, what does it mean? And then when they leave, they're like, oh, wow, you know, this has definitely helped us understand geriatric. So overall for us is very positive. I think that we like having feedback from them, if it's been good or bad, or if there's something that's particularly scared them. And we find that some challenging behavior, so we have some more high-end psychiatric dementia, that some of the younger kids are absolutely petrified, not because they've had to deal with it, but because they might just be walking around the corridors. So that you have to bear in mind that they are 16, and it's not a natural environment for them to be in. So you do have to look after them. You can't just expect them to drop them and swim. But I think what I worry is that people think that it's a huge workload. It really isn't. Like, they tag along, you don't know they're there. They're very courteous, they're no trouble. They do the same level induction that we do for our own students, for our own staff that come on. So I think for me, it was coming on here and saying, like, it's really not that much work, that it is really just having an open mind. And like Nikki says, it's about having that kind of 10-15 year perspective where, you know, the average age of the nursing care home social care worker is 50, and you know, what the hell are we going to do, because, you know, we've got the biggest aging population. So for me, that's what drives me, is, you know, teach them young. And it's also what I've done. You know, I got into care as a freshers at university, and I worked my way up to ops director. So I think for me, it's talking to them when I'm on site, explaining to them what you can and can't do. And also, like, they all seem to want to be paramedics. They all seem to want to be working in oncology, and so it's just about leaving that door open of, you know, if you want to come back and do one shift a week, and they do. And we've got 2 students that did, they're now at uni doing the paramedic degree, and one is doing medicine, but they still come back in the summer and they do the odd shifts with us because they just love it. So that's what works well for us, I think. And what they like is, they always say that they enjoy the difference in the settings. So in a hospital, for them, is very much in a hospital is very much medically tasked. Whilst what they say in a nursing home, they get the time to spend with the resident, and so they like that, because they can, you know, they can sit and hold someone's hand or listen to a band that it's entertaining for the afternoon. So I think it just gives them that it gives them a bit more of a human sense to what social care is. So that's kind of the feedback that we've got.
Great, fabulous. That's fantastic. And Nikki, I'm assuming that doing these T levels then opens the doors to further training, such as things like assistant practitioners or nursing associates and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's entirely up to the student what they would like to do. As I said, some choose to stay in employment and work their way up that way. Some will choose to go for apprenticeships. And yes, as Matt just said, you know, some will go to university, but because they've had that experience of social care, they may well come back. So
yeah.
And it's also other, like we spoke before, and we had a really good chat with Plymouth College about, you know, it doesn't have to be a T level in health and social care. They've got business. So, you know, I said that I'm more than happy to place for people that, you know, are doing a business or an accountancy degree. Again, I don't think people realize how much we have to do in a nursing home environment, from accountancy to, you know, to business management, business planning. And so it was very helpful when we met with all the different colleges, for them to kind of understand a bit more our world, because they really just think we pee and poo that we don't. And so it's just about keeping that conversation going, really.
As I said, it's gobsmacking how little the external environment knows about social care. And that, you know, that it's exactly what Matta again said before, is they see what's in the news, and generally 9 times out of 10 it's negative, or what's even worse is 9 times out of 10 it's positive, one thing's negative, and it's the negative thing that sticks. So, you know, it's so important to and I've created a myth-busting document to overcome that as well. So that's gone to the Department for Education for national sharing.
Nikki, would you write us a little blog, liaise with
I will.
Michaela maybe, but and we could put that into our newsletter this month.
Absolutely.
Because we could link to that myth busting document and sort of and just share it a bit wider. Because as I said, you know, you're right. When you're doing what my old boss used to call grabber crunching, and you're out and about talking to colleges, it is extraordinary what you're still being told.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But some of the kids I know who are doing T levels, certainly at Exeter, are really enjoying it, and they're not just in social care or healthcare, but they are just having a really good time. They're finding that those placements really give them a kind of insight into what they're doing.
Definitely.
What was
fun,
interesting?
isn't it?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Well,
Martha.
What was interesting from the workshop we did was that Plymouth College is really struggling to place their T-level students because
Yeah.
they
Really?
just, so I don't know if within the newsletter, Lucy, we could try and push for Plymouth, you know, for Plymouth based home manager. I don't have a home in Plymouth, so I can't help, but just to kind of spread that word, because they have the highest intake they've ever had. I think over 40 students, I think they said.
They have.
And they cannot place. They're just pulling their hair out about how where are we gonna put them.
Yeah,
So I wonder whether Helen Reid and Steve maybe might be able to kind of use your networks down in Plymouth maybe to spread the word a bit. We can also speak to Jeffrey Cox and Louise as well to try and get that word out. Would that be?
We've got a Caring for Plymouth side of things.
Just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, Caring for Plymouth could certainly get involved. We've got a gentleman there that we can link in with and get something out. I can share the slides maybe so they can see what's going on. But yeah, we've got good links with the college here, to be fair.
It's a great
so we'll
college,
do the
actually,
best
isn't
we
it?
can. Yeah.
They are so forward thinking. They probably the most open-minded ones when they on that group. So
absolutely,
it's definitely something that whoever can put their fingers in should like quickly.
And just going forward as well, if they do get rid of the BTEC, the T level will probably be the go-to level 3 qualification. And these colleges are going to struggle, you know, because this is only going to grow. So yeah, get in there now.
Fabulous.
Just as an added part as well is that I know that the Prince's Trust do a lot with health and social care from the 16 to 24. So I didn't know whether that could also be a little bit of an in there too.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not allowed to endorse that because I'm T level, but yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'm all for, you know, getting people into the system in whatever capacity, and you know, sometimes it's just about sparking their interest because, as I said before, they don't know what they don't know, and you know, if we can get them hooked from the start, there's so many pathways that they can go along. So yeah, definitely.
Fabulous. Well done, thank you. I was about to bring you in, Jill. That's so funny. I was literally about to say, and Jill's here. Does she have anything to say?
I know. I'm actually in a bedroom in Eden House because it was a long story anyway. Just get Crash Margot's nursing course.
Oh,
anyway,
well done. Good work.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think so I'm on my phone. That's why you can't see me. But yeah, I think it's interesting actually, because I think from a skills for care perspective, I've sort of talked to Nikki about this before, that we kind of miss the T levels out in a way, which I find, you know, obviously quite strange. But I just think that they are that sort of integral part of the whole sort of career workforce pathway. I just wanted to ask, Nikki, are they going to be sort of part of that pathway?
Absolutely.
You know, the Department of
I mean, one of the hiccups that I've had, Jill, is around the fact that obviously we've had a change of government, and the T levels were originally set up by the Conservative government, and we didn't necessarily know what was going to come forward, which has been part of the problem with the BTEC. It was funded again for an additional year, but I think that's because we're waiting for December, when the Department for Education are going to release a whole new a set of guiding criteria. But my understanding, certainly from where things are sitting at the moment, is that T levels are here to stay.
Brilliant. Okay. And like you say, they can be like that sort of that like massive pipeline for other,
Definitely.
for other jobs, aren't they? And I just think
Yeah.
it's kind of like, we do need to include. I think it's because we don't get funded, but I just think we can't just ignore them. I just think it's crazy. But anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you.
No, and
So
I don't know whether
if
you,
you
I don't know
like-
whether you, sorry, I don't know whether you heard Jill before, but Marta was saying as well, it's not just your clinical side of it, it's not just your care workers and your support care workers, etc., but also business, admin,
Yeah,
law,
exactly.
the whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So if you are obviously you're going to send it out to Devon Care Home Collaborative, but yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to, promote that, because I
Brilliant.
just think that it's the right thing to do. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And as I said, out of the 7 IPCOs, I think I'm certainly the most proactive for social care. So, come on board, please do.
Yeah, I'm totally will actually. I just think it just, otherwise we're just missing like a sort of huge chunk of choice and progression and pathway out really. So it's, so okay, thanks so much. Ooh,
And if
you
it's all
seem
right
like
with
you're
you, Jill, if you and I
Yeah.
could meet up at some point after this meeting and go through it in a bit more detail, I'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, that would be great actually, because I just think that there's a bit in the puzzle that's missing, and I for one, I think, I mean, I'm part of the nursing work stream, and I just think that we're probably and nursing associates, and I just think we're missing a bit of a trick really, because I mean, and also that just kind of like spreading the word for placements as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Totally agree. Jill, any headlines or updates from you that you want us to share or talk about?
Well, I mean, about the new. I'm guessing that about the social work reforms that have come your way, but nothing's been particularly mandated.
No, exactly. That was like, we know about it, but it keeps, yes, there's not masses written in concrete,
I
is
know.
there?
Yeah, because I keep being asked to do national updates, and it's like, well, I've been talking about this stuff the last kind of 6 months, and nothing's really. I mean, about the workforce strategy that is a sector produced strategy for the sector, but that has not been mandated, and obviously the Department of Health and Social Care are looking at producing their own sort of 10-year plan. I think what will happen is they'll probably kind of use some of the recommendations, probably the workforce plan that we've put together with the sector, but I'm not entirely sure they're going to use that as I don't know is the answer, but I mean, it's because it is quite nebulous, as you know. But that's a kind of a huge document. But it's, I mean, we are hoping that they use that as a template, but I don't know. I don't know whether they will.
No. It feels a little bit like, since the change of government, everything, and I think a lot of breath holding before the budget anyway. I feel it just feels like everything's a little bit quiet for a minute until they work out what money's where and how. Which is why I think we're all plodding on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think you're spot on, because I just think that they're doing a new NHS plan, and I think they want to do a sort of a 10-year plan to have parity with the NHS plan. But I don't know what that's going to look like, to be quite honest. The other thing that is useful to know that you probably know is, obviously, probably Michaela, you'll know this, is about the fund, the new learning and development scheme, which the Department of Health have taken over. We used to distribute the Workforce Development Fund, but we no longer do that. But you still need to be adult workforce data set sort of compliant. So in order to access that fund, you need to fill out the data to access that. I don't know if any of you doing that at all. Are you? are you actually claiming from that fund at all? Because it's got nothing to do with us anymore, so we don't know what's going on. So we just wondered what was.
I mean, Michaela can give you the hard facts. I think generally the word on the ground is it's the data set is so unwieldy to keep up to date on the ASC that and it's not it's not the only data set that we have to complete. So I feel a lot of people are turned off by that. So I don't know what anybody else may think. Then very happy for somebody to disagree with me if they love the ASC data set, but but I don't know many. I think some of the larger providers might be coping with that and then able to get the funding. But I don't know what Katie thinks at Pinehurst, but I'm a similarly sized small home. We've got enough admin to be doing, and it sounds awful because we probably are missing out on quite a lot of funding, but just don't have the capacity.
Yeah, we're not.
No,
we're not.
And is that just because it is so sort of onerous, really, for you to do? Is it because it's too much to do?
Yeah, I suppose time just runs away, doesn't it? We've got so much to do. And don't seem to find the time at all, really. Which
but there's no kind of integration with our own systems for logging staff, personnel, and training, and so we're all, there's no one system fits all. So I'm sure Katie and I probably have all the same records of who we're employing and what they do and what training they do, and then to have to individually put that in. And I know once you've done it, you've got the core in there and you can keep it updated. But we've also got capacity tracker, we've also got care plans.
I know.
That's how I feel about it. But one day.
Okay, one day. I mean, I don't know, Michaela, what do you think about all that then? Because you're probably more familiar with the system than I am. I don't know what your view is on that.
Well, to be honest, I'm a bit ignorant to it all now, because we don't manage it. We don't do the administration, so I don't know. I mean, since we've stopped, I've continued to have queries coming through about the funding, and referred them onto the website, the relevant website, and everything. But other than that, just I don't know, because we're not having that communication with them. So
I know. I'm going to take your comments back. I know that the analyst team at Skills for Care said that they'd really made it more straightforward and accessible, and we do have a support team. I think there are easier ways of doing this to get hold of the money as well, because I think you can register and then fill in the information later, and hopefully that may enable you to access some of the funding. But there's a
it might be worth asking Jill if somebody would come and do a little session on it and show us the accessibility of it. Because I don't think the comms has been great, and so we just knew that it ended and that we were just kind of very happy to do a little session on that at some point.
Okay, I think what happened was the funding ended for us, and I think we were just advised to refer, a bit like you, Michaela, refer people to the website. It's not really, okay. I mean, I don't mind doing a bit more on that, doing a session around that, to be quite honest, just to kind of say that it's not as hideous, and this is the scope of qualifications and courses that you could actually get funding for. But okay. And the last thing just sort of mentioned was the care pathway, care workforce pathway. But again, that seems to be, I think they've published phase 1, which includes all the entry folk, people who are just starting in care in relation to behaviours and values and things like that. But I don't think, I mean, I don't know, anybody sort of taken that on? Has anybody sort of, because that is, no, so you're not.
I've just linked it into the chat bar.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it again, it's almost like, I think people you know, because there's no sort of funding or resources for this at the moment, really. I don't know what providers are really supposed to kind of do with it, to be quite honest, apart from, and you know, like, you know, we're saying, oh, you need to embed the values and behaviours, but, you know, I'm sort of feel like I'm sort of teaching my grandmother to suck eggs, really, you know, because it's like, well, I think they probably are already doing that, actually, you know. So yeah, so it's really difficult, isn't it? Yeah, so that's kind of
seems to me, I think that, you know, it's all very well having that pathway, but it doesn't, there's no there's nothing of substance in it, and there's still, it doesn't improve people's career trajectories, it doesn't give people stepping stones to get to where they'd like to be, and it doesn't really then say, you know, and it also doesn't add value to being a care worker, which is the intrinsic issue in all of it, isn't it? That, and as we've talked about already in this last hour, that, you know, if people don't understand what social care workers do, they can't value them, which means they then probably don't get paid enough, which is blah blah blah, usual stuff that you and I talked about a lot before, haven't we, Jill? So it kind of, it was a little bit of a path, I think. But it's Monday and I'm a bit cynical, so apologies. If it doesn't improve people's career trajectories and their life, i.e. that doesn't improve the fact, you know, it doesn't improve their wage, I don't think it makes any difference. And certainly for some senior care workers that I speak to who've been doing this for 20-25 years, there is a ceiling for senior care workers as well within the sector, because unless they want to go on and become a deputy manager or something else, which some of them don't, they want to continue doing their job, doing it well and being paid well for it. It's not. That's a good question, Nikki. So Nikki's asking in the chat bar, do any of you have your own career pathways resources? What do you mean by that, Nikki?
So just something that is very clear about the levels that, you know, what you can do when you first come in, say, for example, when you're new to care. So things like obviously starting off with something like the care certificate, and then what the options are at level 3, what the options are. But to make sure that it's not just linear, it's almost like a tree, so that, you know, if you want to go into training and education, you can. If you want to go into management, you can. If you want to go into, I don't know, management, admin, you can. Because again, an awful lot of this is missing. And I know that I did one with DCC, and I'll see if I can retrieve it. But it was literally in steps. So
that would be quite, that might be quite a useful thing to look at, and then for us to either adopt or work out if we do our own version. Rather than reinvent the wheel.
I'll certainly see if I can get hold of that, Lucy.
Yeah, would that be okay? And then we could have a little work on that, and maybe another RMN we could just have a look at it and go, right, does that actually feel like something that we across Devon we can adopt? Would that be useful to put up in the staff rooms? Would that be useful? And then obviously we can add in, there is funding for certain parts of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be good. Just because I'm just aware of time, I know we're booked for 12:30, but I feel like you've probably all got lots of things to go off and do. I'm going to try and do a pop-up session on ETEPs and training. There's a big push from the ICB to have electronic TEPs across Devon, and they're trying very hard to involve social care in that. I'm yet to have a meeting with James about that, because he is pushing very hard. He's doing a really good job, but I'm hoping, if you guys are up for it, that we'll do a pop-up session, probably only about half an hour, where we learn about what that project is, and what are the implications and the impact for the people that we look after in social care, and what training do we need to send ourselves on to do it, and our nurses and carers. So that would be soon, I think, before Christmas, I think, if that's okay, because that seems to be quite and it's different in different parts of Devon. So there are certain parts of Devon that have adopted it and certain parts haven't. And when I pointed that out to them, they were quite shocked that we didn't know about them in certain parts of Devon, because there's just a general assumption, isn't there, that if one place does it, everyone else will follow. Thank you, Helen, for coming. So watch this space on that one. Care Home Forum, I've got a meeting again this week on that. I think that's worth continuing to go to. I know there's been frustrations about it in the last few months about people having enough time to talk about things, people from the care home side of things feeling that only a couple of people are the ones that talk, and we get that in lots of meetings though, don't we? So we'll continue to push to the care home forum as well, because that is a sort of co-produced thing between Devon County Council and DCHC, and we're finding our new way through this new kind of post-COVID landscape, really. And newsletter will be out next week, week after, and other than that, keep on with the WhatsApp and just let us know what you need and what have you. Hi, Katie.
Hello, sorry, Lucy, just a quick one. I'm just wondering if there's going to be a meeting or a forum at all at the dreaded CQC. I'm going to bring it up, but I'm just wondering if there's any clarification with anyone about, I suppose, the assessment inspection process, what's going forward, because we've had so much troubles with the portal still, like messaging, emailing them. We're not even at the point where we can upload evidence. I'm just really confused. Like, I don't actually know.
I can completely get that. Shall we? Okay, why don't we? I'm just going to get Michaela on board with this because she's amazing. What we could do is do a collaborative sort of roundtable chat with somebody, maybe from another care association, to talk about what we know at the moment. And I would think maybe Anna Knight would be quite good at doing that, because she did that for us at the conference in March. She could update us on that. And we can push to ask the CQC if they've got anyone that might come and chat to us. Doesn't feel like they know, if I'm being honest. I don't know whether anybody's.
Can I just jump in here?
Yes, Katie, go for it.
We were literally inspected last week under the new framework, and we were a bit of a pilot, actually. So I don't know if anybody wants to have a little bit of oversight of the process and what we went through. Would that help?
How did it go? How are you?
That would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
Me and my sister are she's just got her registered manager, and I'm waiting for them to do my application. So me and my sister are just on the fringes, really. We're kind of expecting an inspection, but we just don't.
So just a little bit of an oversight of us. We've got 2 care homes for young adults with learning disabilities and complex health needs. They were both inspected in December last year under the old framework, and we were rated outstanding for both of those overall. So then we've opened up a community services, so not more outreach, really, kind of minimum 5-6 hour packages for our same client group. And we opened that 2 years ago. Come on in, grab a chair. We opened that 2 years ago, and we still hadn't been inspected. And then we bought a new office, so put in for a change of location, which I think spurred things along a little bit. So then we had a call to say they were going to come and inspect us, and they gave us, it was nearly 2 weeks notice in the end, because he then got caught up somewhere else, and we were just sat here ready for him to arrive. So he is literally today gathering all of his evidence, and we should know today what he's going after. But this is Louisa James. She's the registered manager. So if she gives you a little bit of an oversight of how it went and the difference between the last year's inspection, and then if you've got any questions, then please feel free to ask her.
What are you on? You on like a forum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had no idea what call Kate was even on. So hi, I'm Louisa. Wow, what a difference 2 years can make in terms of inspection. Don't even know where to start, really. I think the main thing is ignore Chloe's, and just focus on the quality statement. So when we were going through the inspection, he wasn't pocketing any of the evidence into any Chloe. It was into the quality statements, and then what he's going to do is score the quality statements to then score each Chloe. So yeah, that was one of the biggest differences, is that it isn't really following the normal Chloes that you would go through on an inspection. The way that they're collating
the I statements,
the I and the we statements,
the I and the we. So they did both. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but from their point of view, they score the we statements. So that's for us as the provider. And then they'll gather the evidence from the individuals and their family for the I statements. And then they will score the we statements with that evidence.
Right.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
It was the most surreal, strange experience. I think it was probably a little bit different for me as well, because I've moved from residential managing to community care managing, so that part of it's different. I didn't have my team to rely on that were working the floor to see and hear what was going on with the individuals. So that like laughter in the house obviously wasn't there. It was me in an office, and it was our one shot to give everything we could. Just trying to think of what else was different. A lot of focus on knowledge, a real focus on my knowledge. He was almost trying to, I don't know, maybe trip me up a little bit, to gain that knowledge out of me. So one example was, well, who deemed you competent to do a mental capacity assessment? And I was like, that's a trick question, because as an RM, I deem myself competent in my role to do a mental capacity assessment. And if that's not good enough, then the local authority will pick that up through the DOLS process. So that was kind of a little bit strange. And then he asked me to give an example of the last DOC I submitted. So rather than just saying, talk to me about duty of candour, he said, when was the last DOC? So I kind of thought in my head, DOC, and it just took like a split second to realise what he was talking about.
Right.
So yeah, that was a little bit
That is,
odd.
we don't refer to them as DOCs really in a kind of colloquial manner, do we? That's
no,
bizarre.
exactly.
It's
It
like,
would all just
they
be about our
tell us off
normal
for using
governance and
jargon.
notification process. A lot around mental capacity, like a huge amount. A training was a massive one. I don't know if anybody's in a clinical setting, so around the delegated responsibilities, PEG training, suction training, that was huge. Epilepsy was a big one. The other thing that I found really different for this inspection was he came in and basically said, give me an individual with epilepsy, an individual at risk of pressure sores, an individual at risk of falls, an individual with autism, and an individual with challenging behaviour. And then he based the inspection around those 5 individuals. And actually one individual that I would say would be an outstanding project for us, because she's just moved into her own bungalow, didn't really fall under any of those. And I was like, oh, I would really have liked to have shown the work that we had done with that individual. Yeah. So I kept trying to refer to her, and he was like, I didn't ask about her. I didn't ask about her. But actually the following day when he came back, I had overnight done this piece of work, and I put her project into this PowerPoint, and I gave him no option but to watch it.
Well done.
So he was like, okay, I get it. So I would say those, like in learning disability settings, kind of focus on those 5 areas in terms of the care planning. He went through my audits and actually ran the system himself, because we use digital systems, to make sure that my audits timing matched up with the responses on my governance. So he really was
thorough, wasn't he?
thorough.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even
How are you?
even evidencing, we do a lot of evidencing. We do a lot of dreams, goals, aspirations, with lovely pictures of them achieving whatever they've achieved. And then he was like, get rid of all the pictures, we don't want them, we don't want to see them. Like there was a real focus on content, wasn't there? Context. Like so yeah, when you're thinking about that, if you've got nice pictures and stuff, make sure you've backed it up with a lot of wording and writing.
His wording basically was, if you can't tell me what the positive outcome is, I don't want to hear about it. So a lot of the work that we had in progress was for our young people that maybe we've only been supporting for 3 or 4 months. So we're going through that transition period. But to him, he didn't want to hear it because we hadn't got to the positive outcomes as of yet.
There was a lot of stuff where he was like, yeah, top end, good. Yeah. Move on. Don't really want to see that. So it was hard to really wow him, wasn't there? But then there was some stuff, he wiped a tear away at one point. The positive recruitment, he loved that, seeing individuals involved with recruitment. We were able to demonstrate a young person doing his own recruitment video and saying what he wanted to out of somebody, and he absolutely loved that, didn't he? And going back to MCA, it's as we know, it's a bit of a common failing across the system at the moment, and he said our MCA process was some of the best he had seen. So that was really positive, that what we had done worked, because there's no real framework out there to say these are the assessments you've got in place. And actually it took us a lot of work at the beginning of this year to see how we were going to do it, but that was all right, wasn't it?
And I think another big thing, actually just reflecting now again, is that our registrations from 13 onward. So supporting children is new to us. We've only been supporting children for 2 years. So I think the biggest thing keeping me up at night as the RM was, have we got everything in place? Are we doing right by these children from a legal framework point of view? And he confirmed. I even said, is there anything else? And he said, no, nothing. So yeah, capacity and consent around children is obviously going to be really different to those where the Mental Capacity Act and DOLS applies. He was really open to talking about the challenges of care. He was really understanding about the DOLS process, how we've got a lack of social workers in some teams, so there are delays. So where we're really evidencing those delays and that that's not a failure on our behalf, he was really welcoming to that. Another thing we spoke a lot about was recruitment and the difficulties with getting references. So he said, just challenge it with CQC, challenge Regulation 19. They want to know about it because then they can do something about it. So for me, it was a surreal inspection. It was a positive inspection. But yeah, very, very different from the new framework. And I was saying to Kate this morning on reflection, I think the way that I'm going to manage the service is going to need to change, because we are moving into, you know, more innovation, more creativity, and all of those things that we think that we know that we do really, really well actually are becoming normal standards and expectation of us as RM. So,
and he doesn't, they say now you can't submit the same
evidence more than once.
So if like we've done a huge project in the last couple of years on accessible information standard, and we do a lot of data analysis, and so they'll be like, and what now, what next? So sometimes we roll out new initiatives and our RMs are a bit like, oh, we just caught up with what you've just put out. Well, but that's what they want to see. Like it's just not sitting still anymore, it's ever evolving. So yeah,
wow, that's so valuable. Thank you guys, that's amazing. If we did a pop-up CQC session, would you guys come along and talk again about that? That'd be okay, because obviously you'll know your judgment as well by then, won't you?
Yeah,
I think it's so important to talk about it when we've had these experiences, isn't it? Because you are a pilot, you're one of the first ones, aren't you? And also the fact that it will change your practice is really important for us all to hear it and learn from, isn't it? 'Cause
yeah, I've learned so much from this experience, and actually I think if anything it's going to make me a better RM than I already thought that I was. So and
I think it's hard because obviously we've got the 3 services, 2 already being outstanding. There's always pressure to get a third one the same, but we're all a bit like 5 goods right now is incredible. Because the stuff he was asking, you've got to be a top end RM with great knowledge to have got through that process. So we're like, no pressure. And there was a big like onus on the fact that it's our first CQC inspection, even though our other 2 homes, it was our first inspection. And he was going, oh, it would have to go to a senior panel, and it would have to go to a senior panel. And he did say that's outstanding, that's outstanding, but it's whether he deems it enough to then pass it through panel, really. So, and
is there also a discussion point around how we use the systems in place, the digital systems in particular, how we use those to then evidence what they're, do you see what I mean? It sounds to me as, go on.
The factual accuracy report will come to me, and then I can upload any evidence to support with that. But because it's the new pilot scheme, of course, that system's not working at the moment. So unfortunately, kind of a bit of a CQC failing, which he did admit, that he's going to submit the evidence the old school way. So I think she meant,
did you mean our personal digital systems? Did he look at those?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I suppose it's a bit like what you were saying, Louise, about how you feel as an RM. You're going to slightly change your workings. Like, how are you going to use your digital systems to then back up what you're saying to the CQC, I suppose? Like, is it going to change your day-to-day workings of audits and, you know, all the stuff that you do?
Yeah, I think it is just about being creative. So he was talking to me an example about our assessment process, and I was like, well, we go out and assess, we talk about all of the basic care needs, and then dreams, goals and aspirations, and how we can match that individual with certain staff. And he was like, yeah, and so almost some of the things that I was saying wasn't enough. Even though we know that these systems are really embedded for us, it's still not enough for them to be wowed. So yeah, I think it is just going to be creative, always keeping the individuals at the heart of everything and linking everything to those positive outcomes. So if we assess an individual that's non-verbal in a different way to an individual that's verbal, actually recording that on the assessment that they took part in X, Y, and Z, but parents took part in the rest of the assessment process. So yeah, lots of learning. I took down loads of notes throughout the inspection so that I could support, you know, with things like this, and how to move forward and keep. So she's going to do a presentation for our other 2 managers, because the next time they get inspected, it will be under this new way. So yeah. So yeah. All right.
Golly. Well done, both of you. That's amazing.
Thank you. Before she disappears, does anyone want to ask her anything?
Can I just ask quickly? So originally we was holding evidence file on the computer system with the view of uploading it onto their portal. That's never really materialized. So did you go back to paper to give them the evidence? Is that
no? What I actually did was, we've got like a spare TV, so I set my screen up as a TV and I just presented all my evidence. But the only reason why we were able to do that is because he said that the bones of the care that we provide is such a high standard that he had time to let me present some evidence. He said if it wasn't and he had to dig deeper, then we wouldn't have got to that point. I think she means the what she needs to submit. We talked earlier about the pictures and that. You had to extract all of that. Yeah, and actually it hasn't gone on the portal. It's just gone to him directly. So the portal, as part of the draft report, isn't yet up and running. So it is still documents to be sent via email, which was the same way as how I did it 2 years ago.
Okay, because sorry, Lucy, like not being inspected for 8 years, that's insane, you know. So we're just sat waiting. That's one was just registered 2 years ago and we're still not being inspected. So the managers were like piling information on, you know, the different Chloes under the IMY statements, but all on electronic format, with the view of loading it onto the CQC portal. So I was just trying to understand how he expected you to present it there and then. So yeah, I think it's also just about getting that through when you're doing the bare bones of covering all of the quality statements, trying to include as much as that. So for me, he was talking about how I would manage an incident, and then I would go on to say, actually, but after the incident, I would do my monthly analysis, and that's part of our auditing process. But if I hadn't have said that, he probably then wouldn't have given me the opportunity to evidence it. So I think it's really narrowing it down to what evidence you know that you want to present on the day and getting it in some way.
Yeah, I think there's such a bigger conversation about this as well, isn't there? Okay, thank you so much. That's such a valuable contribution. I think if we could maybe meet in a couple of weeks with it as a kind of CQC roundtable, and we can maybe share your experiences. You guys could have a little chat about it and talk. We can talk about that, and we can get some advice from an external person to see what they're currently suggesting that homes do, and that may make Katie and myself and others feel a little bit more reassured. But I think it is also working out what we do day to day from our evidence building base to continue to be ready when they do then suddenly decide to tip up and demand stuff in that kind of very exploratory way that clearly is never ending.
I think what they were blown away with a year ago, a lot of it now, he was like, yeah, and next, that's good. That should be there. You should all be doing that. Yeah. Whereas they were blown away by that 12 months ago. Do you know what I mean? So it isn't a case of now just doing your everyday stuff. Like Lou said, it is about linking it to those positive outcomes for the people in which we support.
And actually not just doing it. I think I see so much on Facebook about evidence and just for CQC purposes, like, we didn't even have a list of what we were going to show CQC. I did it the night before they came because what we're doing is actually for our individuals and not to satisfy CQC.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'd all.
Sorry, you get told when you're inspected, but that's not the new way for everyone, is it? Like
just because we're classed as domiciliary care, so 48 hours notice.
Are we going to get told we're inspected or not? But no,
that's care homes. Sorry, no, not in general. No.
Brunel had 24 hours
notice. One of our homes had 24-hour notice and one had none. So they
Wow.
were in the home in one, and then Lou messaged, go and CQC here, and we were like, no, they weren't, because one of our homes had been open for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years, and one had been open less than a year, and they turned up on the same week in both homes, and we were like, oh, just before
Ooh, you
Christmas.
poor things.
So
Oh
yeah.
my goodness me.
But
Wow.
all three, to be fair, I think all three inspectors have been really amenable.
Oh, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
It's not been a scary process.
Not at all. They've been really nice, kind,
Mhm.
amenable. They've not made staff feel uncomfortable. I think
Good.
you hear horror stories. I mean, we've always been CQC champions, really, because I don't think their job's that different to what we should be doing day in, day out. But
Yeah.
a lot of people can go, oh, they were really intimidating. But I think all three, although all three are very different, one wanted to sit and look at evidence, one wanted to sit on the floor and witness practice and then be sent evidence, and yours was just totally different.
Yeah.
So although they were different,
Yeah.
they've all been positive experiences. So,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Well done.
Right.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Keep us posted.
Thanks, Lou.
Good luck when you do find out the judgment, and thanks, Lou, for stepping in as well. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Fab. Thanks everybody for coming. Michaela and I'll set up that extra session in the next couple of weeks, and also that ETEC pop-up as well. And any other queries in the meantime, come back to us and give us a shout. And thanks everyone for all your contributions. It's really helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.